Hey, making another video. I think this is like 29 of 30. Gotta make it. Was gonna make one with notes, wrote a bunch of notes, and then I realized I had a lot more notes to write before I actually could round it out. And then I realized today that I didn't really need to write much more because the notes kind of suggest the rest. So this one is called Trump Justice, Rich versus Poor. So rich versus poor should be equal, but let's start right here. The thing that is going on is that you hear this phrase people say, if they can get to Trump, then none of us are safe. I'm going to explain what's wrong with saying that. Most of you know that's not true. It's almost the opposite of that, but I'll explain it. So, first of all, rich versus poor should be equal in terms of justice. If I can get arrested for accidentally running a red light, so should Trump's cavalcade of whatever, at least the driver, like let's say he was still president, right? And he's riding in that little thing. Somebody should be in trouble when they pull a traffic violation. So what really happens is rich people get off for things that poor people don't. Poor people, like there's sort of, I have a definition of poor, and that's basically anybody that's not like uh, probably a millionaire or a multimillionaire, um, because it can still be hard to work out um, retirement, including elder care, because a lot of us are going to be getting old enough to have dementia. That used to not happen as much. These places that they can put you in can be very expensive. Some of the ones that they put you in aren't that really good of a place to live. You'd almost rather be put to sleep than live in some of them. I happen to have family members who've been lucky enough to be in very good places. So rich versus poor should be equal, but it just isn't. See, first of all, there shouldn't be enough wealth for some people to be poor, and there shouldn't be enough poverty for some people to be rich. And we actually have the ability to make choices in the way our government works, and therefore how our society works, in order to make it so we all live in relative comfort, meaning relative to this group, we feel comfortable. Relative to us, they feel relatively comfortable, right? But how should that be applied to a president? And I guess I could ask about current versus former, because Trump is a former president, right? Current, I understand the idea that politicians need to make international decisions that could have moral questionability, like to start a war or to order an assassination. I'm not a big fan of bad things happening like that, but I have become somewhat of a pragmatist. Whatever decisions are calculated in some really smart, valid way to decrease the overall suffering of humanity or increase the overall joy, happiness, satisfaction, and health of humanity, then those should be undertaken. But those are not as cold and calculating as you think. They have a compassion element to them, because we increase misery when we ignore our compassionate sensibilities, because we'll make a calculation that works great and should make more people sad or happy than sad. But what happens is when we do something that really hurts a bunch of people, we pay a huge toll in compassion. Like we're basically abusing our own compassion itself by doing certain acts. So there's a cost to, say, destroying a whole country of evil people that we think of as evil. They're just acting evil, what we consider evil. They're doing something wrong. They're being abusive. And let's say we just bombed Russia right now. I still think we'd pay a huge cost. In fact, when we bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, come on, we're not over that yet. We're still suffering from that. I wasn't even alive when that happened, but we are feeling it now. That's part of the reason you're not feeling so great right now, actually, is Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And also what happened in the southwest region of the United States, where people were poisoned because we tested those bombs there, but that's another story. So How should a president be treated? Yeah, a president probably should have some leeway in the decisions they make because they're going to make tough decisions for the benefit of our country and hopefully considering the needs of other countries. And they're going to make mistakes, real mistakes, not just their being evil because their actions actually turned out to be a catastrophe. Sometimes they made the best of all bad decisions and it turns out to be worse than we thought. So I understand the idea that it should be kind of hard, not very hard though, to litigate against a current head of state. But I think for a former head of state, a Bedoy, if you're committing crimes while you are a former head of state, let's say you were president, and well, actually, while you're still technically president, you commit some crimes to subvert the entire process of electing presidents. I think that is a crime against the process that makes the office of president legit. So yeah, we should just be able to hammer. We should just be able to spank you like a big boy, or a big girl, or a big person. Okay, so but a former president or politician, um, they should just kind of be fair game. And so should all billionaires. Billionaires shouldn't be able to have better lawyers, for example. It should be illegal. I think basically one model we should have is you can't pay for a lawyer. You just get government lawyers, and government lawyers get paid very well to do what they do. And maybe they get paid for their track record of making the best of the worst for their people who are accused of crimes and making the best of the best for people who are defendants and that kind of thing. And so performance could guide how, but the government could just supply everybody with just as good lawyers as anybody else as long as we're willing to pay them. Same with doctors, same with freaking teachers. Teachers should be paid like what the best lawyers get paid. All right. So there is a huge flaw in saying if we can do it to them, then none of us are safe. And the first obvious part of that flaw is that none of us are safe. All of us except them, and we'll talk about who is them and who is us. All of them are protected by their power. We're already not safe. What we should be saying is none of us are safe from like prosecution for breaking the law, and neither should they be exempt of that. They should be just as in jeopardy as we are. And I'll probably remember to say that at the end because I think I have to. So, all of them are safe and protected from the consequences most of the time. Okay, now we have to define what is us and them. Now, there's an us and them that goes us and them, and then there's an us and them that goes us in our little social circle, and them outside of our social circle. I'm not about to talk about the second one, but well, I am about to talk a little bit about it. Them are not really them. And in a few minutes, I'll prove, or at least hardly strongly suggest that there is no them really, right? But them are the people that we don't like because they have a different belief system, because we don't believe that there's such a thing as like sexual and gender differences that we didn't know existed in the past, though they did. People that we think of as different racial groups and ethnic groups and all that stuff, those are not real groups in terms of humanity. There's no speciation. Like someone says, a crow is not like a sparrow. Yeah, because those are two different species. That doesn't work within one species. Humankind is one species. So when you go way over there and you see people with, like, let's say they scarify their faces as a way of religious ritual, and they look very, very different, and they're much shorter than we are, or they're much taller than we are, or whatever, they are still Homo sapiens. You are like this close, this close. You can't see the distance between my finger and my thumb, right? You are that close to identical to them. So there's no really them and us on a lateral level. On a lateral level, is that right? On a horizontal level, on a perpendicular level, on a vertical level, there is in a way. And I will describe what us often means and how much we beat ourselves up by talking about what us often means and what them often means. And I'm going to tell you what us and them should be. All right. So, what us often means, we're kind of blah, we're kind of average, we're kind of basic, we're kind of whatever. We're just people, regular people. We're rugged, we're thick, we're roughened, we're roughnecks, we're leathery. We're strong, we're tough. We can handle hardship. We can handle homelessness. We can handle working a lot more hard hours than other people and getting paid less. We could just, we can hack it, right? We can hack being treated like crap. Um, Working this system, that's us, right? We're working the system, right? We're trying to get what we can. We're trying to sneak around the man, like they're the man, I guess. Working the system, getting by. We're getting by. Yeah, man, I'm getting by. I mean, it's like life's not like I don't have a mansion in wherever, but I'm getting by. That's us. Skirting failure. We're just on the edge of failure, man. If we don't fail and we die without failing, that's great. Okay, right. Like that's where we're at. That's where we think of ourselves as at. Seeking success. We're seeking success. There's this thing called success. We assume they've got it, and all we got to do is keep doing this and this, and we can get a certain level of it, or maybe we can get to be them. We're seeking success, right? Seeking it doesn't mean we have it. Maybe it means we don't have it. Working harder. That's the other one. We assume we're working harder. I know it sounded like I just said we're working harder, but I'm not sure that that's true. I think that people are just people, and their personality sometimes just doesn't let them sleep at night. And they just keep grinding and grinding and grinding. And I've met some people like that. Some high professionals, big, big, important doctors that they can't just fix a lot of people and keep them from dying. They got to write a million papers on it. They got to go speak on those papers around the world, all that kind of stuff. Some of them seem rather healthy, but some of them seem like they're going to break or that they're just losing everybody they love or they drink a lot or whatever. So, what them often means when we're talking about it colloquially, just hanging out and saying, man, if it can happen to them, then it can happen to us. We think of them as successful. They're not seeking success, they are successful. Successful is a really stupid word to say someone is successful because successful means things happening and then going like this is a succession 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. It can go on forever. There's no successful, there's just successive steps. We think actually, because I think that's kind of weird too, to really think that somebody's higher. No, some people are just more comfortable, have a lot more resources, and never have to worry about being homeless. But some of the most high earning middle class Americans do have to worry about being homeless to this day because of things. All right, virtuous. Somehow we think that, say, Donald Trump, that Bill Gates, that other people are virtuous. You can't tell me why you think that, but your preachers are saying it nowadays that God's blessed them because they've been godly, because they've followed God's hard working no excuses philosophy. That's the no excuses God, the CEO of the universe, right? Okay, so then we think of them also as fragile, tender, manicured. They're wealthy. They grew up with somebody waking them up gently. Master, it's time to wake up. We have to make up and we have to go fight Batman or something like that. And so that's that's what we think of them as they're so good at stuff, but they're so rich that they don't have to do anything like open their own car doors. So we think that they're just kind of like smooth skin. maybe we shouldn't be too hard on them. We just shouldn't. We shouldn't arrest them. No, they can't handle going to jail the way that you and I can. We don't suffer when we go to prison and get beat up, and then there is actual rape in prison. And I have to tell you, I've heard stories from real corrections officers, and you probably have too, because there's a lot of them, and that ain't no place for nobody to be. If you want to talk about the Russia and the Soviet Union, you want to go into one of our prisons and wonder how different we are. All right. So, fragile, tender, manicured. We have to put them in special, special, special jails if we even prosecute them at all. Because, I mean, should we do it to them? Should we do it to someone as strong and powerful and handsome and tall and smart and wealthy and such business acumen as Donald Trump? So they're superior. They're leaders. They're just kind of natural born leaders, as if again they're another species than us. No, no, there really aren't. There are tendencies in people that might drive them in certain directions. There might tendencies in people that let certain people be treated as leaders. As you've noticed, there are many leaders that are really not leaders. They're not leadership material. They're just Homo sapiens. And the ones you don't like, you realize that person shouldn't be a leader. And the people I don't like, I realize that person shouldn't necessarily be a leader. Because anybody in general can have leadership qualities of certain degrees in certain areas. They're not different in that way. There's no they like that. There's no like, they're, again, they are not another species. Um, we think of them as smart, right? Like intelligent, like that is not necessarily the case. Also, it's very hard to measure intelligence when there are other variables like when you've got hyper wealth and when you've got very low wealth and all these other things, nutrition, stuff like that. They're industrious. They work hard, but they know that they're working towards something. They're working hard and smart. They're enterprising. They think of things other people wouldn't think of. Oh my gosh, if I parlay this into this, I'm going to have an empire in 3 weeks. And there I am. 3 weeks later, I got an empire. They work smarter, basically, right? We work harder. They work smarter. And we also think they kind of work hard. Kind of. That's weird. But earning their wealth. We're working the system, getting by, skirting failure, working, seeking success, trying to get by, trying to squeak around, trying to get something from the system, but not them. They're earning their wealth. They're deserving their wealth. They are meant for wealth because they are special, special, godly, good, happy, nice creatures who just they are the type that should be wealthy. They're meant for it. They're the nobility. They're the aristocracy. Is where these things comes from. These thoughts that you have, and even I have, and they're achieving the dream. They're achieving the dream as if they're happy. If they were so freaking happy, they wouldn't be acting the way they are. They're successful, and like I said at the beginning, and I just wanted to say it at the end. There's no such thing as successful. You can't be a success. Success actually means that you are moving in graded steps. Like graduation. Graduation means you're graduating from here to here. You can graduate from here to here, and you can always keep graduating in life. It's gradual in gradations because I like to just keep saying the same word in a way that sounds different over and over again. So let's talk about what us should mean and what them should mean. Us is unlucky. Them is luckier. And us is just like them otherwise. And them is otherwise just like us. That's it. Let me repeat that. Us really should mean, because this is the better descriptor, less lucky, them more lucky, us just like them just like us. Just in case you want to write that down again. Us less lucky, them more lucky, Us just like them, them just like us. Morally, intellectually, in everything you can measure that's inherent to a person, we're just like them. Now, in luck, we are not just like them. You're going to find that they were born with platinum spoons in their mouths. They were, by and large, statistically, that's the biggest predictor, is where you were born, who your parents were, what your resources were when you were born, and what connections you had coming to you when you were born, and all that stuff. Working and all that stuff does help. We need to work, right? Everybody needs to work, I think, because everybody needs to get up and do something. So, so do I have a final sort of punchline here? Let me sort of shape shift in a magical way while I think about it. I just got it. I was also going to make a video about how stupid it would be to try to have anything resembling a civil war in the United States. And that is because we're just spread out all over the place. And a lot of us have very starkly different politics and stuff, but it's not like the North and the South. And it could go state by state, but it would just be a mess. So we would just be like one of those countries that Trump called a shithole country. And that's what we would just look like. And we'd be in the news, and everybody else would be eating their pudding, enjoying the afternoon news, watching us just shoot each other in the streets all the time and have babies just lying there crying because you just got killed trying to kill somebody else or whatever like that. So I might make a whole video about that, but that's the whole basic part. It doesn't really happen that it's like civil war like we had in the late 1800s. It's civil war like various terrorist factions fighting against terrorist factions of various types, and then the civilian population, whatever that even means, it's utter chaos. They're getting attacked, and nothing's getting done. And then maybe 100 years from now, they'll have a peace accord, and they'll be the cool country, and somebody else gets to be the shithole country. Well, it does seem that anybody who's trying to cause a lot of hoo-ha about politics, like trying to steal elections and trying to go, all these people that are arming up and stuff like that, they're basically just unwittingly walking our country into becoming a real shithole country where no buildings don't have holes in them. And we're going to desertify. Meaning our country is going to become a desert. It's going to be really weird. We're going to be like people that everybody says, look at those people in the third world. So, but I just want to say the summary of this is, it's not that if they can do it to them, people like Trump and other famous and very wealthy and powerful people, that then none of us are safe. No, none of us are safe. They are safe. That needs to change. Nobody needs to be safer than anybody else from justice. Justice, 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 justice.